Thank you. I remember January 3rd, 2023 as if it were yesterday. I could hardly sleep the night before. I got into work at 7, an hour before the clock started for the other employees. I grabbed some coffee, and I remember thinking, boy, I could get used to this. But to whom much is given, much is required. Good evening, and welcome to the 2025 City of Bogalusa State of the City Address.
Happy New Year to you.
My name is Tyron Trong, and for the past 24 months, I have had the honor of serving you as your mayor. As you know, this is our first time addressing the public in a comprehensive way, and tonight, I plan to tell you how the cow ate the cabbage. The unvarnished truth, even if it is too hard for some to hear. Sometimes, a state of the city is an opportunity to celebrate, but tonight, I plan to tell you how hard we have worked, and I'll let you decide if it's cause for celebration. We have continually pushed toward the mark of a better Bogalusa, because here at the city, it's more than just a slogan. It's a lifestyle. Tonight, we continue that work because our city's future will be set by those coming together to build community and create opportunity, not by those set to destroy it. The old way, the antiquated way of, well, this is how it's always been done. Because look around, it clearly hasn't worked. Take a moment and think back to 2023, when I took office. I was less gray, more rested, and I had inherited a city falling off the ledge. A city stagnant, while everyone else around us bloomed. A community too scared to come out at night, because we were dodging bullets every other night. A city replete with archaic customs and financial uncertainty. A city with crumbling infrastructure. But tonight, our message is joy comes in the morning, because we are finally starting to see our way. I address you tonight not to rehash the past, but give context, because context is important. We have not provided an official response to most of the misinformation you see on the daily. Most people here are not politically engaged, so you see sound bites and news articles, or maybe you see Facebook posts, but it doesn't give the context needed to understand the operations of a $22 million city. I have had my team prepare visual evidence to back everything up we say tonight, because I don't want you to just hear it, I want you to see it for yourself. Change can be messy and uncomfortable, but I'm not paid by you to comfort. I'm expected to bring you the truth. And a lot of these truths involve the past administration, and after tonight, you will not hear us mention them ever again. Because regardless of the mess they left the city in, we understand that it is now ours to clean up. Allow me to set the stage. The first thing you do at a new job is you get a lay of the land. So you're going around, you're visiting offices, you're seeing where everyone is located physically, pulling on doors, seeing what's inside. You know, general curiosity. So we pulled on a supply closet. Well, imagine our dismay opening a closet full of mold. And this provides a visual for the state we found this entire city in. All of City Hall was unkept, needing TLC in every sense of the word. Now, if you think back to that time, you'd remember the campaign being a tumultuous time in our city's history. It's election night of November 2022, and the returns are coming in. I am over the moon because we have just won 56% of the city's vote. A clear majority, a solid mandate. Normally, the losers call the winner and they concede the race. I never received those calls, but what I did receive were news articles about the former mayor calling me young tyrant. And at that moment, I knew that the transition would not be cordial. Normally, the newly elected official is allowed to come in and shadow the existing team, to learn the ropes before taking office. To give you an example of how transitions in government work, right here in Washington Parish, when Sheriff Seal lost, he allowed Sheriff Smith to appoint someone to come into WPSO and start getting a lay of the land. We did not receive that, and it haunts this city till this day. I say that not to place blame, but to inform the public of the totality of the challenges we have experienced thus far. January 1st rolls around and my term officially begins. I gather a few helpers and we enter City Hall to start trying to figure out what we can before the first day on January 3rd. Keep in mind at this time almost the entire finance staff has resigned before we even take office, so this is all new to us. But I brought a few helpers so that I've had witnesses in the future. When we came in, we found money laying all around the city offices. This totaled up to millions of dollars. The people accompanying me stated that they had felt like it was done purposefully. The whole time I'm trying to keep a level head. No, I don't think so. I didn't share that sentiment until we found cash in a printer drawer, the literal drawer of a desk printer. To make matters worse, there was black mold everywhere, as I showed you earlier, even outside of the closet. Retirement checks found across town in a concession stand, documents in boxes labeled shred. It was as if they had intentionally sabotaged our entrance into City Hall. But I have always believed in every bad situation there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that we found documents that support our claims. The most important thing we found that night were invoices, where the previous administration paid to shred thousands of documents. In total, they shredded 16 90-gallon totes. Picture that. That is the equivalent of over 17 city trash bins that you put at the road every week, in addition to 120 boxes. I question the love the former administration had for our city, because regardless of how you feel politically, you still have a duty to the taxpayers of this city. Despite how any of us feel about the presidential election, when a new president is elected, we all come together and we wish that person luck. The Bible tells us to pray for our leaders, but it seems as if that sentiment was absent here in Bogalusa. The mess they left this place in is unconscionable, and authorities should have done more about the actions they took. Those first few weeks in office were the toughest. We were pulling 12 and 14-hour shifts at no extra cost to the city, just to see our way. To this administration, I'd like to publicly thank you for all the work that you do, for your unwavering commitment to our city, because this is often a thankless job. And I'd like to address an elephant in the room. It's no secret that our administration is more diverse in every sense of the word, and that is not a mistake. It is intentional because 2 years ago, if you were not of a certain stature, or if you didn't belong to a certain social group, or you were not well connected, you could not get a job here. Gone are those days. Government should reflect the communities it serves. We believe in fairness and equality and diversity being our biggest strength, and it has benefited every citizen in this city. This workforce is the most educated in modern history. A staggering 90% of our administrative staff have college degrees or some college training. We have also given young people a chance because too many young people leave here and don't return due to a lack of opportunity available. That was me 4 years ago. Fresh out of college with nowhere to work locally. I had to commute over an hour. So I understand the struggle, and that's why we're working to change it. Hiring young people has also benefited the city financially, as our health insurance costs have decreased. We were able to get better quality insurance for a lower price, benefiting every city worker. This staff is adaptable. They know how to adjust to the moment. On our first day in office, CenterPoint Energy and Energy were in our office threatening to turn off our power and gas because the city had not paid its bill in months. Members of my team pulled out their personal credit cards and paid the city's bills. These people are dedicated, so it frustrates me to see them ridiculed on Facebook and in the public because the public doesn't understand the sacrifices they make. They are the right team to tackle our city's problems at the present moment. They get the job done despite how demanding the job becomes. Many of us spend more time here with each other than we do at home with our families. Join me in giving them a hand for their service. My first task of substance here tonight is to inform you about our current challenges. I plan to tell you how we found this place as I have and the problems it had, but also how we have addressed them and our plan to continue to do so because folks want to hear about progress. When I first got here, I tell people it was akin to being thrown in an Olympic-sized swimming pool and not knowing how to swim. You have to learn all the customs, and some of them just didn't make sense to me, and everywhere I would turn for answers, you get the same response. Well, that's just how it's always been done. And in today's world, that answer doesn't really sell well anymore. We found rampant overtime, archaic structures, a lack of processes. For all my sports fans, it seemed as if people had just memorized the plays. They had been running them so long in their heads, and they couldn't properly relay them to a rookie like me. Nothing was in writing. It was all etched in different people's psyche. But like any good player, I caught on quickly. By the time my first 100 days were over, I had observed many things that needed to change and had already begun addressing them. Tonight, I say to you that our city government has historically struggled with efficiency. And this has been particularly frustrating for me because if you know anything about my generation, you know that we like to move fast. And local government is anything but that. It was a learning curve, but one department in particular has stood out for their ability to adapt to the city's realities and have done so while improving services to each citizen. Please join me in congratulating the Bogalusa Police Department for being chosen as the City of Bogalusa's 2024 Department of the Year. These guys truly know the meaning of doing more with less. I thank Chief Smith for his leadership, but like any good leader, he has a great team. Thank you to Assistant Chief Turvelon, Warden Johnson, and Major Bracey. Together, the four of them have overseen a department that boasts a major drop in homicides for the second year in a row. When I first took office, it was on the cusp of state media naming Bogalusa as the most dangerous city in Louisiana. We even beat cities like New Orleans, but that's not the case anymore. Last year, we had 2 homicides, a far cry from the 9 in 2022. That's a 78% decrease. And while we are elated with the reduction, that is still too many because these are not just numbers for us here at the city. These are fellow citizens whom we have lost to senseless gun violence. Less than 60 days in, we had taken multiple steps to reduce our plight. Less than 2 months in, we went from a city torn to a city determined. 2 months. Violent crime, newspapers read violent crime slows. How Bogalusa is pushing back. The Bogalusa mayor asked the governor for help, and we confronted youth crime in 2 months. That's the urgency in which we need city government to respond. And you have my pledge tonight that we will continue to do everything in our power to one day see a community in which every person, no matter their background, is safe from this deadly epidemic. Make no mistake, this drop did not start on its own. It took hard work from our officers in city administration and many policy changes. And if you compare the BPD of 2022 and the BPD of today, there has been a huge culture shift. Since I got here, Assistant Chief Turvelon has been hard at work revising the department's standard operating procedures, some of which had not been touched since the 90s. And I know we don't think a lot of time has passed since the 90s, but that's 30 years ago. 30 years ago. We have to come up with the times. Together, we worked on making our officers more visible in the community. I envision a police force in which citizens know most officers by name and story. When I ran, I stated that I wanted officers out in the community where the teenagers were shooting guns or shooting hoops. And I am proud of the work the department has done to make that a reality. They have invested in community policing, whether it's officers in the classroom, reading to children at Bird Avenue, teaching little girls self-defense at My Sister Keeper camp, or hosting trick-or-treating in the office parking lot. These officers are serving their community in a positive way. When they were approached with having to cut their overtime in 2023, it got heated for a moment. But eventually, we found a compromise that is still in effect today. They revised the way in which they schedule officers to reduce the need for overtime while also aggressively recruiting new officers. I am proud that my administration was able to hire the largest patrol class in over 20 years. Normally, a department our size is lucky to send one candidate to the police academy, but we were able to send 4. We are still actively recruiting with the focus on diversifying our ranks. These men and women won Department of the Year because they understand that at the end of the day, this is about the city's well-being. They are doing their part, and that is not to say that all problems are resolved, but that we have a great working relationship and a strong resolve to tackle the toughest issues. The biggest issue at the police department this year will be implementing a pay scale for all officers that is guaranteed based on years of service, similar to the federal government's. Currently, the department is too top-heavy, and the union and leadership have agreed. We will be working together to figure out how to update our structure to resemble neighboring agencies so that we can fix this problem while guaranteeing a fair wage. This comes at a time in which costs are steadily rising for public safety across the state, mainly stemming from an increase in retirement contributions. Public safety accounts for 52% of our city's budget, and we have to work to ensure that we stay within those parameters. BPD has exemplified that throwing money at a problem does not automatically help, which has been the mindset for too long around here. These folks have done more with less, and the entire city is better because of it. And other city departments should use their example to accomplish our shared goals. I'm happy to report tonight that we have also made major headway in our city's financial realm. This part of my role has been one of the most challenging to address, as the system has been entrenched in inefficiencies and obstacles for far too long. Before I get into particulars, I want you to imagine being thrust in a completely new environment and no one present knew where the basic things were. And tonight, I'll address this for the last time. All of the top staff at City Hall resigned. The director of administration, the assistant director, the personnel director. We didn't have a city clerk, the bookkeeper, the accounts payable clerk, and the purchasing agent. Many of them lied in the public and said that they were fired. When we were cleaning offices, we came across many of their official resignation letters sent to Mayor Perrette. In fact, we found the email where Mayor Perrette instructed a staffer to write resignation letters for her leadership team. Those stating that they were fired are lying, full stop. Full stop. Anyone who wanted to stay was allowed to do so. But lies such as these were repeated by Senator Beth Mizell in Baton Rouge when I had to go to the state capitol to testify on behalf of our city in July. So these people stir the pot and repeat the lies so much that people begin to believe them. And we sit back and look like the bad guys. When these are total lies, as you saw the resignation letters yourself. And it impacts our relationships to the point to where members of our legislative delegation refuse to help the citizens of Bogalusa on funding for sewer. Critical funding, even though they are supposed to be representing you two. Are we undeserving? To make matters worse, the offices were stripped of many essentials. Computers have been wiped, and many people have known that, but have not contextualized what that meant. On my first day in office, retirement checks were due to be sent out to the city's retirees. The only problem was that the software to cut the checks was nowhere to be found. Tonight, I feel a sense of calm as I can report that when it comes to our finances, joy comes in the morning. We are finally starting to see the light at the end of this tunnel. The elephant in the room is the 2022 audit, and no one in this city wants to see this completed more than me. The city's needs trump all else in this realm, and that is the reason we switched CPAs for the first time in decades. Our former CPA firm hired the former director of administration, and we had major concerns about the conflicts of interest that move created. You cannot independently audit our books if you have worked for us, and the process of switching took months as it was held up by the city council. They did not approve a new CPA until the end of April, less than 8 weeks before our audit was due. So do you now see how we were set up to fail? We had been trying to close the books, but there was zero urgency from the legislative branch of our city government. To make matters worse, if you know anything about audits, you know that numbers have to match. We could not locate many of the records requested by the auditing firm once we did get them on board. A few months later, we were added to the non-compliance list, becoming the only city in the state of Louisiana on that list. Now look at the totality of the situation. Even Stevie Wonder can see that the actions of the former team on their way out the door helped get us to this present moment. The 2022 audit was primarily their responsibility and should have been initiated before we took office. Nevertheless, we took over and we're cleaning up this mess. Being on the non-compliance list has also slowed the pace at which we were originally moving. Within my first 18 months, we were awarded over $2.5 million in grant funds. We have not been able to start on most of these projects due to being on the non-compliance list. I will let you, the public, be the judge. Despite the obstacles placed in our way, I am happy tonight to report that we have still made immeasurable progress. Many of these grant projects will move forward this quarter, as we will be turning in the 2022 audit on January 30th, and we have already started on the 2023 audit with the game plan to get off of the non-compliance list by this summer. We're ready to deliver on critical infrastructure projects for our city. Many in the public see news bites in the Facebook commentary, but they don't understand the complexity of these issues and how they all work together. We also encountered more problems because upon entrance, the city had not adopted a 2023 operating budget, which meant that we were stuck with half of what the 2022 budget approved. The charter states that the budget should be introduced 45 days before the end of the fiscal year, meaning the budget should have been passed before I was ever sworn in. But I am pleased to share that this year we introduced a timely budget. It was just refused by the council, despite being almost identical to the one they passed in 2024. And the administration still has not received a formal reason as to why, meaning that we have failed to pass a timely budget for the third straight year. Tonight, I challenge the City Council to work with us on passing the budget. Last year, the operation of the government almost came to a grinding halt as the city was threatened with a shutdown, because state law only allows you to spend half of what was allocated in the previous year. Let's not get to that point again. We need to continue to make progress because people suffer when governments shut down. The City Council and the City Charter plays a major role in the functioning of our government. We, the administration, present our ideas, but you need the City Council to move them forward with their approval. There are many challenges in that area that need to be worked on in 2025. If you are an engaged citizen, you have probably noticed that none of the agendas or ordinances work online. The administration has no power over that, as the council secretary is the only one with access to the online agendas and ordinances. This has created barriers to governance, and we have requested this issue be fixed multiple times. The city's code software, Municode, has not been updated since 2018 and makes our city government less transparent at a time when we need to be as transparent as possible. Despite all of the financial challenges, we have almost rebuilt the entire financial structure of our city. When we got here, there were very few processes in place. There were no requisition forms, no purchasing procedures, and that led to major resentment here in the city amongst some in the business community. We had companies that were auto-drafting money straight from the city's bank accounts, and we put a stop to it. So when you see people upset, most of them are mad about not being able to profit off of our city any longer. They had some sort of connection in the past, and it is no longer there. For example, because the city did not have purchasing procedures, we were ordering tires for triple the price we could have gotten them from the state contract for. We have been ridiculed, with some saying this administration refuses to shop local, and that is not the case. We support local businesses when given the opportunity to support them. But we have to be financially smart when making these decisions because we're working with limited resources. By saving money on essentials, we are able to deliver more bang for your buck as a taxpayer. We even implemented a 3-quote system more stringent than state law requires. If you want to purchase a paperclip, city employees know that they have to bring the purchasing department 3 quotes. I make no apologies for this. None. We're in a better financial spot than we were 2 years ago. As I mentioned earlier, the city had a track record of not paying their bills and vendors on time. We have almost resolved that issue. We have worked in coordination with the Louisiana Legislative Auditor's Office, and in my first year, I paid off over $1.8 million in past due bills. We were only left with a $1.7 million fund balance, meaning once those bills are backdated, we were left with a negative fund balance. As the audited numbers roll in for the 2022 fiscal year, there was also a $786,000 deficit in the general fund. Mayor Perret informed the council of this in a letter to them on November 1st, 2022. In addition to the $1.8 million, I'm working on paying off another $884,000 to Risk Management, one of the city's insurance firms. This bill in particular dates back to 2018. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what I mean when I say we are cleaning up a mess that we did not create. I understand that it is my responsibility to do so, as we have done, but context is important because we are actively fixing problems that have persisted for longer than I have been alive. People say that we are spending money, but they're failing to mention that most of that money are on past expenditures. I need you to conceptualize that. There is less money to spend on improving our city right now because of what happened in the past. Bills accrued. Joy comes in the morning because we have navigated these challenges without borrowing any money from the state. Historically, the city has taken out revenue anticipation loans every year, robbing Peter to pay Paul, and I refuse to do so. I'm the only mayor out of the past 5 that has not borrowed any money. I don't plan on it, and I consistently express to my staff that we operate in a fiscally conservative manner to continue to make this possible. Shifting focus to infrastructure. Infrastructure has long been one of Bogalusa's most pressing challenges. With an aging sewer system, crumbling roads, and persistent drainage issues affecting the quality of life for our residents. When we took office, we recognized that addressing these problems would require bold action, strategic planning, and a commitment to progress. And while there is still work to be done, I am proud to share that we are making meaningful strides in improving our city's infrastructure, from repairing critical sewer lines to paving roads and tackling flood-prone areas. We are laying the groundwork for a stronger, more resilient Bogalusa. The sewer has been the talk of the town lately, and we are happy to shed light on the challenges we've faced. For context, the city has 61 lift stations, and each lift station helps to push the waste to the main treatment plant. Each station is supposed to have 2 or 3 pumps. Every station in Bogalusa has 1. So unfortunately, when it fails, we have to rent bypass pumps, which is what people are complaining about in the community. The city has operated this way for far too long, and it's finally catching up to us. The treatment plant here behind City Hall has 2 main screws that help process the waste. When I got here, one was broken, and a few months into my term, the second one failed completely. Our sewer treatment plant has not seen any upgrades since the mid-90s. The issue has been brewing for decades, and tonight I declare 2025 the year in which we will fix our sewer system. Many of you have seen the videos and posts made on Facebook. A lot of times they're posted to stir up our community instead of to get the problem fixed. When these problems are reported to City Hall, we get them resolved in a timely manner. In 2022, the city completed 533 work orders. In 2023, we completed 2,116. And in 2024, 2,196. That number has increased since taking office. We have done that with a much smaller public works crew. When I got here, we had over 30 men down in the yard. And today we have a consistent crew of about 12 men. Let that simmer. Over 4 times the amount of work with a third of the workforce you used to have. Another example of doing more with less. In stores, citizens are constantly approaching, bragging on the staff for addressing their issue in a timely manner. Many of them believe that it wouldn't be because of what they've heard in the community. When we are made aware, we get the job done. With a system this big, sometimes problems fall through the cracks. We ask the public to call us as soon as possible so that we can fix the issue. Posting on Facebook isn't fixing the problem we all claim to care about. The next time someone complains to you about an infrastructure problem, ask them have they called the city. We have a city clerk that has been here at the city for over 37 years, and she don't take no stuff. Please join me in giving Ms. Shan Hines a round of applause for almost 4 decades of dedicated service to the citizens of Bogalusa. We'll be going out to bid soon to fix one of our treatment plant screws with funding from multiple sources. My office worked with former State Representative Melinda White to secure over $500,000 in direct cash for the sewer system. The council has also allocated over $700,000 of the remaining ARPA funds so that we can address this problem in the first quarter of this year. We also have a federal appropriation request in Congress pending through Congresswoman Litlow's office for $725,000 to start adding those second and third treatment pumps in each lift station. We're also in the process of receiving approval for a loan from the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality for $500,000, with the promise that they will forgive $350,000 of that, creating a win for the taxpayers of this city. That brings the total funds that should be available for our sewer system this year to over $2.4 million. Solving these problems takes time. Solving these problems takes time and real resolve, but we are committed to doing so. Moving from the sewer into the water side of the business, we started a lot of controversy when we first got here and announced that many structures in the city were not being charged for water. As I stated at the time, this seemed intentional as the list read like a who's who of Bogalusa's elite. We have almost completely fixed that problem and plan to install even more water meters this year. Just to give you context, we had water-intensive businesses like dog grooming salons paying $50 a month. People with swimming pools, $50 a month. Imagine how much money we were not getting from the water that was being used. Water is one of the city's largest revenue sources, so we have to be aggressive with this. We have 1,000 more meters to install this year. Everyone has to pay their fair share if we want to build a thriving community. I'm happy to report that we have made improvements in water billing as well. With the city's new software, we are able to detect customers' water leaks. This means that we can tell when something is wrong and we immediately alert the customer when the system alerts us. This saves everyone time and money, ensuring that the system is running more efficiently. This year, we will continue to improve our relationship with our customers as you are now able to pay your water bill on our new phone app. When it comes to streets, last year I submitted the Better Bogalusa 2025 plan, and the council refused to discuss it, so it died on the table. But in that proposal, we allocated almost $50,000 to each council person to fix roads of their choice in their districts. Resurfacing roads in our city is of primary importance, but we need the council to appropriate funds so that we can pave them. In 2023, we worked with the state to finish resurfacing all of our state streets in the center of town. My team got the historic Church Street repaved and outfitted it with new street signs and welcome signs. Church Street is a model for what we plan to do around the rest of the city. New overlay with nice sidewalks, adequate drainage, and fresh lane lining. This year, we plan to tackle other problem streets with a focus on main thoroughfares. But we also understand the frustration in our neighborhoods and have placed Richardson Town up next. We can achieve even greater progress if the City Council collaborates with us to allocate the necessary funding. I have worked with the USDA on a $311,000 street improvement grant, and I'm happy to announce tonight that the resurfacing of Memphis Street and Georgia Avenue will be going out for bid this month. We're also hoping to draw down the $700,000 sidewalk grant that we've been awarded for Avenue B to connect the high school to the sportsplex. These two grants alone total over $1 million. I've been questioned about my travel for the city, but you have to get out of here, and you have to network. You have to work with other branches of government, and that's the only way to do so. I cannot do that from behind a desk. I have to get out. It's not going to fall out of the sky because these are competitive funds and we're competing with other municipalities across the state and the country. We have proven to be a formidable team when it comes to bringing home the bacon to you. I plan to be out of the office more this year, bringing home even more critical funding for infrastructure projects across our city. When it comes to blight, we have a goal to condemn and demolish 50 houses this year, as these houses attract unwanted activities such as squatters, drug activity, and rodents. We have torn down several houses in partnerships with other organizations and the Old Jones Grocery on Union Avenue. We are researching if we're able to use part of our $500,000 we won from the Environmental Protection Agency through the Brownfields Grant Program. Another major topic across our city lately has been the Bogalusa Fire Department. When I got here, I was lobbied by BFD for many changes. They stated that they had been treated unfairly by past mayors, and I sympathized with that notion. But the more that I dug, the more that I realized that this situation was something that all of us have to work together to fix. We discovered astronomical amounts of overtime, with one fireman alone taking home over $227,000 over a 4-year span. The system is broken and it needs fixing. Do you know how many firemen we could have hired? So we allocated 3 additional firemen in the 23 budget. To this date, we have only been able to recruit 1 applicant. So I'm urging the city, step up, join our men in red, and help us fix this problem. This has forced us to cut our skyrocketing overtime before we bankrupt the city. The fiscal administrator's report called for the closing of a fire station to keep up with the city's finances. The attorney the state of Louisiana appointed stated this, not me. The state auditors have urged us to follow that plan. They constantly call us, they constantly check on us to make sure that we're following the instructions that they left us. I tried to compromise by doing a rolling blackout, meaning a temporary closing of a fire station when they can't staff it. And I honestly thought I was helping the situation. But like many of you, we saw the situation unfold in real time, becoming an ugly discourse on social media. We have attempted many things to ease the fire union's decades-long strained relationship with the city. We started by getting fire vehicles back on the road after almost 2 years of sitting at a dealership in another parish. Just by getting that vehicle fixed, we will improve our fire rating that has been deteriorating for a while now because we were dinged in our last audit for not having it. Our firemen need the proper tools in order to do their job safely, and we're working with the federal government to get the Bogalusa Fire Department removed from a non-eligible grant list, because grant funds were not properly spent in the past. We have purchased new tools for the department and plan to do more once the federal government can help us out. The union stated they wanted to be equal in pay with police, and past mayors refused to do so. I understood that you could not make them equal overnight, meaning that we would need a phased plan. I offered union leadership 2 options. We could give everyone in the department a $2 an hour raise across the board, or we could phase in equal pay by ranks. They took this proposal back to the membership and the union voted to give everyone a raise. Cool, we delivered on that and began planning to phase the rest as originally planned. Now mind you, this is their first raise in decades outside of the 2% increase that every city worker receives each year. And to our chagrin, the fire union went behind the administration, reneged on the deal that we had, and worked with the city council to get even more money. A councilman demanded that the second round of increases be implemented, or the council would vote down the 2024 budget. The council agreed, even though they have stated multiple times that they don't know where the city is financially. They approved the pay raises, and we obliged, but what the city did not know was that the council can appropriate funds, but the administration has the power of discretion, meaning we can spend up to that amount, but it does not necessitate that we do. Tonight, I am announcing a stoppage of that plan, as the original terms were broken. We are calling on the fire union to open their contract later this year so that we can finally address the long-standing problems facing the department. In the words of James Baldwin, everything that is faced cannot be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. These words could not be more true. While we wholeheartedly appreciate the effort our men in red put in, we must do so in a financially efficient manner. This is similar to the challenges we have solved at the police department and look forward to working together to do the same for the Bogalusa Fire Department. If you recall, we planned to close the Pleasant Hill Station last month, but I have met with senior men in the department to come up with a different plan. I have granted the department until June of this year to recruit 2 firemen to ease our overtime woes so that we may continue to operate with 3 stations. I am a pro-union elected official, but I recognize my first duty is the responsible stewardship of city funds. I agree with the state when they say that we need to work to update all of our union contracts. Some of the things present in these agreements are to the detriment of our entire community, and I am confident that we can work with each union to achieve these aims as we have successfully reopened the Public Works contract. You have my word that the city administration will do everything in its power to help move the Bogalusa Fire Department in a better direction, but we need both parties to come to the table with that shared commitment. We cannot continue to do the same things and expect a different result. Let's get it done. And speaking of getting things done, our community development department has been on fire. The favorite part of my job has been being able to make a tangible difference in the community. If you know me, you know of my commitment to the children of this city. Not only are they safer than they were when I first took office, they have more enriching opportunities. Let's zoom out for a second. If you're a teenager looking for a job, there are limited options. Well, we expanded those options with the launch of the Mayor's Youth Corps. This program has had a major impact on the youth of this city. We were intentional with our recruiting efforts, and in partnership with Bogalusa City Schools the first year, we employed over 65 teenagers. But this program doesn't only offer a decent wage, it offers mentorship, giving students a taste of the workforce while instilling life lessons. It paid dividends to every citizen in this city, whereas summers were our deadliest time of year before, the summer of 2023 had 0 major incidents among teens. And we had a much cleaner city as these young people walked the neighborhoods, gathering litter. When you give people a chance to better themselves, most will take it. And that has been our guiding light here at the city. We did not stop there. We also brought back Mayor's Camp for the first time in over 20 years, offering our younger residents a camp to attend. Participants completed STEM activities, physical education courses, and music lessons. We have to do everything we can to mold our children into productive, contributing members of our society, and camps such as these help. We have also hosted my brother's Keeper Camp, and we just wrapped up my sister's Keeper Camp today. The young ladies learned about etiquette, were taught self-defense methods, and enjoyed their introduction to sisterhood. On a more permanent basis, last fall we cut the ribbon for the Teen Lounge in Cassidy Park. This building, previously unused since the 2016 flood, serves as a productive safe space for teenagers in our city. It has game systems, a reading area, physical games, and a kitchen offering free snacks to help fight food insecurity. This year, we plan to implement career readiness through partnerships with local companies such as Capital Bridge Health Services, who you know as the call center. Having been many places, I understand the importance of preparing our students for life beyond Bogalusa. But to the young people listening tonight, I implore you to get a good education, join the military, learn a trade, but when you finish, return home to help us build a better Bogalusa. While focusing on education, we implemented the City of Bogalusa's College Tour, where we bus students to New Orleans for a tour of all of their universities. We plan to host more this year in different parts of our state because we understand the importance of exposure. By the time this administration leaves, we will have a strong legacy of being for the children. So much so that I joke and tell people that I want to be known as the children's mayor. We remain committed to doing all we can to instill a sense of pride amongst our youth, which is why we have spruced up around our city schools. Last spring, we introduced Lumberjack Lane, hanging school banners along Avenue B, cleaning the drain basins, and re-edging the sidewalks. I want you to see how grown up that sidewalk was. Less than half of the sidewalk was usable, and that's a visual reminder of the work that we have to do here at the city. You're starting from behind the home plate. You're not even starting in the dugout. You're starting in the parking lot. But we're still going to make a home run. We are in constant contact with Superintendent Hurst and the school system on ways we can continually improve the student experience from a city government standpoint. Our city-run youth sports league saw record enrollment in the past 2 softball and baseball seasons. Over 264 children played in 2023, up from an average season of 120 kids. This year, we plan to implement even more sports with a focus on summer offerings such as kickball. Our latest foray into revitalization has been delivering on our pledge to reinvigorate our city parks. When we took office, we repainted the park equipment at Oak Hill Park in District A and finished the grant implementation of Maggie R. in District C, opening our first park for toddlers and children with special needs. We are currently working on the Jerry Preacher Lee Memorial Park in the Terrace. The council recently passed an ordinance approving the purchase of an adjacent half block, doubling the park size overnight. By the fall, we hope to have a walking track installed and a new regulation-sized basketball court. We understand that our neighborhood parks are key to children being children again here in Bogalusa. We have to get back to the days of children being home before the streetlights come on, and fixing our neighborhood parks helps with that. The Terrace Park in particular will also be aimed at keeping our senior citizens in that community engaged through providing an outlet for an active lifestyle. We recognize that Cassidy Park is not accessible for all, and will continue our push to incrementally improve each of our 22 parks. Speaking of Cassidy Park, if you've been lately, you'll recognize some improvements. We have installed the Gail Jenkins Memorial Pier in the lagoon and added more wildlife, moving back toward the Cassidy Park many of us remember as a kid. We have trimmed all the trees and dredged the creek of major obstructions, repainted the fencing, and added a sand volleyball court. The administration has also utilized grants from the Lieutenant Governor's office to purchase metal trash cans and the upcoming installation of a story walk for the children through LSU Ag. We are working with anybody who wants to work with us to move Bogalusa forward. We hope to add more playground equipment and a basketball court later this year, building upon the beauty and utility of our city's premier park. In the event space, we have delivered the most jam-packed schedule of city events Bogalusa has ever seen. I would like to thank all of our community partners for seeing our vision, for bringing everyone together. I've told them that far too often residents complain of there being nothing to do around here, and they can no longer say that. Some events are to give back to our community, from putting together the largest back-to-school bash the city has ever seen for 2 years straight, to our annual health fair focused on teaching students the importance of their health. We have made a tangible impact on the state of charity in our city. If you brought your child to the back-to-school drive, you left with more than enough and didn't have to buy school supplies. For families struggling to make ends meet, that helps. We successfully recruited the United Way of Southeast Louisiana back to Bogalusa, and they provided countless resources to the working families of our city. Last year, we hosted Christmas at City Hall, where we gave out over 1,000 toys to families in need. That is what I call impact, making a difference in the daily lives of everyday Bogalusans. The city had not done that before, and some slight us for the events we throw, but they fail to mention the economic impact they have on our local economy and the spirit of unity it brings. Sales taxes are through the roof, and local vendors, many of them mom and pop storefronts here in town, benefit from our community events. Whether it's the annual Cinco de Mayo Street Festival or the concert series on Louisiana Avenue, we are reinvesting in our people with little fiscal burden to the taxpayer. What these critics of our events overlook is that most of the money for this comes from city vendors, ensuring that taxpayers are not footing the bill for events they enjoy. All events are not just for fun or economic impact. Some are aimed at enriching the intellectual mind, from Juneteenth celebrations to Women's History Month teas, or even bringing General Honoré to the Coke plant for Veterans Day. There is an event for most interest. We believe in celebrating what makes us different here, because our differences are our strength. And that's why tonight I'd like to dispel the notion that we are dividing people. If someone is feeling divided, it's because they are intentionally doing so. We have made a Big Ten administration where we have many differences in how we plan to achieve a goal, but there is always a shared end goal. I tried so hard to unify our city when I was first elected that I brought on one of my opponents, something that's unheard of in politics, to try to unify our city. Let's use that energy. Put the negativity to the side. Come together. What are your proposed solutions? Because we're happy to hear them. Tonight, I invite you to the table. In addition to new events, we have improved the city's past offerings. The annual Easter egg hunt now boasts 10,000 eggs versus 6,000 in years past. Christmas in the Park has been revamped with the city hosting opening night. In 2023, opening night brought out over 2,000 people, and I had never seen that many people in Cassidy Park. We are consistently doing more with less. Previously, the commission paid a contractor over $16,000 to put up the displays. Half of them didn't work and the other half were missing lights. In 2023, we refreshed all displays, and Public Works got the job done for a fraction of the price. We have also brought back activities at the Bogalusa Community Arena, and I'd like to thank Mr. Leroy Rodriguez for his help in bringing back the magic to our beloved facility. Like myself, many citizens were not even aware that we had an arena, but together with community partners like Mr. Rodriguez, everyone will come to know all the recreational resources our city has to offer. We're looking to reinvigorate the city's rodeo commission this year, and our pledge to you is to continue improving in the social realm, making city events bigger and better. Outside of events, we must continue to seize opportunities when they present themselves. About 18 months ago, I was in New Orleans talking to actress Lynn Whitfield about how she should bring a movie studio to Bogalusa. A few months later, we see Michael B. Jordan. As I was telling her, we have pine forests you can use for wilderness scenes, aged buildings in our downtown area fit for plays about the Old South, and many other assets. About a few months later, I got a call from Warner Brothers Entertainment, and he was asking if it would be all right to bring Michael B. Jordan to film in Bogalusa. And I thought it was a prank call. Now, don't get me wrong, I deal with sensitive information all the time in this job, but that was the hardest secret to keep. By the way, the film premieres in theaters on March 7th, so please go see it. I worked with the production team to help identify local vendors, and I stand here tonight proud of the fact that when the crews came here to film, local Bogalusa businesses benefited. Everything was purchased locally, from lunch to feed the crews, to the renting of local buildings, to stage the set. I looked after local businesses, and they were compensated well, even folks that are not fond of our administration, because we don't hold grudges here. And at this point, I'd like to hone in on us serving the city benefits everyone here, whether they like it or not. I am the mayor for all people. And we will continue to seize opportunities that paint our city in a positive light because Bogalusa has unwavering potential. We just have to tap it. Our next foray is focused on bringing more physical places with amenities for residents to enjoy. And tonight, I unveil to you the A.Z. Young Bogalusa Community Center. for the past year, we have been working with the state of Louisiana and Billis Architects out of New Orleans to design a state-of-the-art building folks from all over will visit. This building will be over 50,000 square feet of work and play space, from meeting rooms and offices to an indoor swimming pool, a basketball court, locker rooms and showers, a gym, and other indoor fitness space. You name it, this building has it. The capital outlay request was originally approved for it in 2014, almost 11 years ago. The reason it had not moved forward was because city government could not find the funding for it. Well, I changed that by working with different developers, and we are well on our way to potentially breaking ground in 2026. The citizens of Bogalusa deserve this. We deserve to have buildings we can be proud of, similar to the sense of pride the Coke plant gave the community when it was repaired. We have to continue down that path, and that is why I would like to thank private investors all around for their work in improving the quality of our buildings. Organizations like Blackstone Property Company and Bogalusa Rebirth, individuals like Mr. Ray McCreary and his family, Mr. Collis Temples, Mr. James Barber and the Freight House. All over, we are seeing Bogalusa come back alive. It's going to take all of us, and we are elated to have friends in the fight, pushing toward the same goal. Funding a multi-million-dollar community center is no small task. The state is pitching in $14 million, but we still need to raise more funds from multiple revenue sources. And that is why streamlining and cutting employee costs is so important. We're not cutting overtime to be mean. We're cutting it because we all know it has to be done to improve city services in other areas. As a citizen, would you rather your tax dollars go toward overtime or funding a community center and fixing streets? These are the decisions we must make daily with the limited resources that we have, and I stand firm in that commitment. I understand that people have families to feed, but I also understand that the city of Bogalusa offers our employees some of the best benefits anywhere in the parish. I'm happy to let you know that we have continually cut our historical overtime problem, not just at one department, but in every department. In 2022, the city spent $971,000 on overtime. In 2023, $911,000. And this year, we were able to drop that number to $765,000. This year, I have a goal of cutting even more, aiming for $600,000. We have allocated additional personnel in our proposed 2025 operating budget, which will further reduce the need for overtime. We have to be intentional about how we allocate resources here. As I have showcased tonight, the city has past problems and current problems, but most importantly, future solutions. And we must keep pressing toward that mark with full resolve. In this new year, the city of Bogalusa will become even more forceful in our fight to raise revenues. But let me be real intentional here. We have not raised your taxes, and we will not raise them as long as I sit in this seat. We will continue to focus on other ways to raise revenues. So let's look at the Bogalusa Industrial Park. When I first got here, a lot of the rents were super cheap. You had folks in 25,000 square foot buildings paying $1,500 a month. And it didn't make any sense to my team because you'd be hard pressed to find a nice rental property right now for under $1,000. Because the rents were so low, taxpayers were essentially subsidizing private businesses. The numbers were not adding up, so we have begun the process of getting our fair share for city-owned property. Over the past 2 years, we have worked with our tenants to increase and negotiate fairer prices on behalf of the taxpayers. One tenant went from paying $5,000 a month to $19,134 a month. That tenant alone is grossing the city over $229,000 a year. Overall, we have increased rents in the park by 55%. This is how you operate a city government. I caught a lot of heat a few months ago when our negotiations with another tenant, North Shore Charter School, fell apart. There were community leaders accusing us of hurting the kids, wanting to close down schools, being against charters, all kinds of things, but the premise was simple. Everyone must pay their fair share. When we got here, NCS was paying $1,500 a month in rent. But the main problem was that their insurance was costing the city over $3,500 a month. meaning we, the city, were paying $2,000 a month to help operate a school. So my thought process was, why is the city paying for a school to operate when a school receives funding from the state and from the locals? It does not make sense. It did not make sense to me. So when the lease came up, we negotiated an increase from $1,500 a month to $6,500 a month. When we do others a favor, we're doing ourselves a disservice. This year, we'll be cracking down on occupational licensing. An occupational license is what cities require businesses to have in order to operate. The problem we're seeing here at the city is that we were never aggressive enough with making sure businesses had these. As you can see, a decline in the revenue since we've taken office. In 2000, you can't drive without a driver's license. You can't run a restaurant without a letter grade from the health department. And in 2025, you will not open those doors if you don't have an occupational license. Or you can, and we'll just chain it. And we understand there were barriers to obtaining a license previously. We've worked on improving the customer experience, and getting your license is now easier than ever. We have partly brought this process in-house with staff dedicated to helping business owners understand the requirements. Before, it was strictly online with a company from out of state. We've now contracted with a firm that many other municipalities across the state utilize. We're giving business owners until March 1st to come into compliance. We'll be sending out letters and conducting courtesy in-person visits to remind delinquent businesses. Outside of conventional revenue streams, we are constantly thinking of ways to meet our financial mark. The third way in which we plan to raise revenues this year is through the construction of multiple billboards around the city. We have received approval from the City Council, as well as a permit from the State Department of Transportation to install the first one on the corner of East 6th Street and Sullivan Drive. This will help our business community with their marketing needs while providing a new revenue stream for the city. And the most exciting part is that for the first year, billboards will go for $250 a month, compared to Lamar Advertising's corporate rate of $600 a month, making marketing accessible to our mom and pop shops. Interested businesses are encouraged to come in and inquire about future spots. The last way in which we plan to raise revenues is to introduce a new fee schedule for permits and construction to stop the current bleeding. Let's say you're building a new house. You will need the city to run water and sewer taps to the property. Well, currently that fee is only $250, and it costs the city about $4,500 to install those taps. We'll be seeking permission from the City Council for the third time to increase our fees as we are losing money in our current situation. I want to clarify that we are not seeking to profit off of this because we see new development as beneficial to all citizens. We are simply wanting to recoup more of what we're losing. If you need a $4,500 water and sewer tap, we're proposing that you pay $1,500, a third of the cost. Other cities around us charge much more, but we are cognizant of the economic barriers here in our city. Again, our pledge to you is to continue to seek out fiscal improvements without raising taxes, and we are well on our way. So, as I have showcased tonight, our city is moving in a better direction by every measure. I knew that my tenure as mayor would be one in which no one day would be the same. This job has challenged me like none other, and you can see it by the grays on my head. But we are experimenting with something unlike anywhere else across the country. You elected me at the age of 23, the age of some of your children and grandchildren. Most people are still learning valuable life lessons at that age, and I am no different. I appreciate the trust and confidence you have placed in me, and I don't take it lightly. Every day, we aim to get better. And I ask that we all extend more grace to one another. Mistakes will be made, as they have been, but I was always taught that you get back up, brush it off, and apply the lesson for future, the lessons you learn in the future. That's all we can do. And as I close, I want to remind everyone that the journey to a better Bogalusa requires all of us to do our part. During my campaign, I emphasized that there is a role for everyone to play. From the start, I knew that none of this could be accomplished alone. Whether it's adopting a street to help keep our city clean, mentoring our youth, or simply supporting your neighbors, every effort matters in shaping a more vibrant and more appealing community. We have already made significant progress, reducing crime, improving infrastructure, and fostering a stronger sense of community. But there is still so much more to accomplish. Very real challenges remain, but I am confident that with dedication, perseverance, and the collective effort of our citizens, employees, and fellow leaders, we will continue to move closer to a Bogalusa that we all envision. It's going to take all of us working together to create the city we know Bogalusa can be. Let's continue to move forward, united by a shared commitment and a determination to make this the Magic City again, because together we can. God bless each of you, and God bless the city of Bogalusa.